Hey guys, Live Free or Die Cop Watch here, and before I get into the video, I just want to let you know this is a partial commentary, so throughout the video I'll pause the recording to explain for context reasons, but anyways, we actually have a phone call from the bitch her fucking self, Pamela Davis, the chief of the Punta Gorda Tyrants. This criminal needs to be held accountable for her crimes against the people. And if we're going to be honest here, since she's the top person in the Punta Gorda Police Department, every other cop that works for that agency, she is responsible for. So for all those other cops' crimes while under her watch, she is just as responsible, if we're going to be quite honest here. But anyways, I'm not going to spoil the video, but I will say this. Just wait till you hear the shit that comes out of this tyrant's mouth.
Chief Davis?
Yeah.
Am I on a recorded line?
No, you're actually on my office line.
Oh, do you mind if I record you?
No, you're fine.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much for your transparency in that. Okay, so then I am recording. So I have a question for you.
Sure.
The ordinance for the signs that's being selectively enforced, I thought I wanted to bring that to your attention, for sure, because on July the 2nd, the pro-choice protesters had some signs that I would have to say were definitely right up there with a violation.
Okay.
Okay, I have pictures of them. I spoke with the, what would I call her? I spoke with the person who organized, the organizer of that protest. And she told me that no permit was needed. She told me that they needed no permission. Nobody bothered them for the signs. No issues.
Okay.
Well, someone did make a complaint to an officer that was there. It wasn't called in. It was just a complaint made to the officer on the street. And the person who reported them was told by your officer that, well, they're protesting. So he's replied, I protest and I got to cover my sign. Why? And he said, well, there's just more of them than there are of you. I don't think that's a real appropriate response, for one. Secondly, so nobody ever got any citations. And I mean, I have them, and I brought them down to the police department on Saturday to ask why is this ordinance being selectively enforced. I spoke with Officer Miller and then Lieutenant Jimenez as well. And I'll just read them to you real quick. My neck, my back, my pussy will fight back. I've got, and nothing is censored out. This is clear as day. That was on, I see a sign there, Nesbitt, next signal. So whatever street that is. Then you've got, we'll see how you really feel about abortions after I fuck your husband, Karen. With a Punta Gorda Police Department vehicle behind her on the road. You've got this one, hypocrite, a conservative politician after impregnating his mistress with the finger up, and it says, regulate this, stay out of my uterus, you fucking fucks. This one, this is my all-time favorite, actually. And this one there is an officer vehicle behind this sign as well. Taking women's rights is small dick energy with the anatomy, the sexual anatomy of a male. So it's a penis and testicles. So when I came down to the police department on Saturday to ask, why were these people not cited? Lieutenant Jimenez decided to tell me that it was because they had a permit given to them by the city manager's office with the approval to protest with these signs. So I said, all right, how do I go about getting that? And he says, well, you're going to have to call the city manager's office. All right, you can watch his body cam footage. You can watch Miller's body cam footage from that encounter. So, because that's what his response back to me was. And I said, well, what if I'm denied? He goes, I don't do what ifs. You should know that about your lieutenant there. He doesn't like the what if scenarios, but they're not like they're black and white. I don't put a lot of gray areas in my what ifs. Okay, so he told me, well, it's not up to me. I can't tell you if they're going to prove it denied or whatever. And I'm like, oh, all right. So I called the city manager's office after leaving there. I called the city manager's office, and I was advised by the city manager's office that no permit is required to protest, and there is no permit required to hold a sign while protesting. So your lieutenant lied to me, and I have Miller's body cam footage already on that, where clearly he told me that I have to get a permit. Okay, so he lied to me. And that's for starters.
I have to comment on that real quick. It's funny how even the organizer herself right here said that there was no permit, that the cops didn't mess with them regarding the curse words on their signs, no nothing. And the city manager even said that there is no permit required, but yet this cop right here, this tyrant piece of shit, will sit here and lie to the people. But now if the people was to lie to a cop, that's a crime. Do you see where that double standard is? Completely corrupt. Let's continue.
So we have selective enforcement of an unconstitutional ordinance. And it is unconstitutional. It's written speech is a form of speech, and by halting someone's written speech, it's trying to silence them. Which I mean, I understand the words, you don't like them. I understand nobody who really wants to see dicks and like actual penises as well. I know I sure didn't want to see that, or stay out of my you fucking fucks, or fuck your husband, Karen. I don't know who Karen is, but she's probably happy. And something about someone's pussy, and I don't think they were relating to a cat, okay? So we have that issue. The next issue I have is the way I was spoken to by your lieutenant, as well as lied to. I think lying to the public, that doesn't show integrity. It's, you have a policy about bias policing. That's I'm describing what your force should not be doing. Because that is bias. It's because whoever was there was okay with the content of their signs, but the guy who stands by the farmer's market who says fuck the police state or fuck corruption or whatever it is that's on his sign, he's got to censor it or he's going to get a ticket. And it's only because somebody doesn't like the content of the sign. Because fuck Karen is okay, or you fucking fucks is okay, but fuck the police state is a problem. Same word, just in different context. So to me, that's pretty biased, all right? And the excuse of there's more of them than there are of you, one person can protest, 1 million people can protest. That's all right. Am I correct in that statement?
Sure.
You don't think one person can put on a protest?
So, in that case that day, there was a very large number. What we ended up having to do as far as, there is officer discretion. I'm not going to order any officers to write citations.
So,
boom! Right there. She literally just said, I am not going to order officers to make citations. It is up to officer discretion. That means the officer has the choice, which is selective enforcement. She just admitted it. Right fucking there. She just admitted to selective enforcement. Now, whether selective enforcement is illegal or not, I believe it is. I will do more research on that. It's still against their policy, and whether it's illegal or not doesn't matter. I mean, I hope it is illegal. I'll do research and I'll let y'all know. But it's still, that is high up corruption. And she just literally admitted to it by saying it is up to officer discretion, which means the officer can pick and choose. That also means selective enforcement. Right there, caught. Clear as day in audio. Caught. You fucking criminal piece of shit. fucking piece of shit. You all heard it. Y'all literally heard it. It's up to officer discretion, which literally means they can pick and choose, and that is selective enforcement. That is literally the definition of selective enforcement. She just dug her own grave. Now we gotta find out if it's illegal or not. Like I said, I'll do the research, but either way, she just admitted to corruption. She literally just admitted to corruption against the people who actually pay her ass. And that's my fucking problem, is that the people pay her salary. But yet she's gonna do this shit to the people. Completely fucking disgusting. Hold this bitch accountable for her crimes and for her corruption against the people. Let's continue.
Oh, okay, rewind. Officer discretion, which leaves it open to bias.
Do you want me to finish?
But I'm saying, if you're saying that this ordinance is enforced by, it's driven by complaints.
I haven't finished. I have not finished my statement. So if you want me to finish, I will.
Well, what you're telling me is basically you're okay with bias policing.
All right, so then if you're going to put words in my mouth, I'm not going to finish the conversation with you because...
All right,
Look at her trying to backtrack now. Look at that. She was just called out for what she just said and admitting to selective enforcement. And now that she got called out on it, in her mind, she's probably thinking, oh shit, let's backtrack and try to make some bullshit excuse. Let's continue.
I want to hear it from you.
I was trying to make for you.
Okay, I want to hear it from you then. Go ahead.
Okay. So, in this particular case, when you have a large number of people protesting, at that point in time, one of the priorities becomes protection of life and protection of property. And there was an incident where the protesters tried to come across the road to the counter-protester and cause issues. Therefore, at that point in time, the priority becomes protection of that person's life, as well as any kind of property that could damage that could result.
So the counter-protester was threatened?
Oh, I gotta say this because that is perfect. That is actually true, what she just said. That I was the counter-protester that day. That's being referred to right now. And the pro-choicers, the baby killers, did start she'll even say that they started getting aggressive. Excuse me. They did start coming over the road to get aggressive and rowdy. But here's the kicker. I had tested the waters for the complaint, actually, because I was the one that tried to make the complaint. I was testing the waters to see what they would do and to see if it was a selective enforcement. I didn't have my body camera then, and I didn't have a second phone to record with, so that's my fault for not doing that. But that when I tried to make that complaint to test the waters to see what would happen, that's what I was told. And then it was later on, like much later on in the protest, that the protesters started getting aggressive. And you'll hear it come out of her mouth. She'll specifically use the word aggressive. So between the time of me trying to make that complaint and the protesters getting aggressive, they could have easily written some citations. Easily. So, that excuse? Sorry, no. Bullshit.
The officers on that day.
So the counter-protester, not the pro-choicer, the counter-protester that was there was one or two that I could count. They were threatened?
Well, I don't know about threatened, but we started to see the crowd get a little bit rowdy, a little bit aggressive, both sides. Therefore,
gotta stop right there. I did not get aggressive. I stood on the other side of the road. They were on one sidewalk, then the road, and then I was on the other sidewalk. I stood right there. I was doing my protest, countering them, which is, of course, protesting. Saying the facts, from the pro-life side, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But I was not getting aggressive. I didn't lunge. I wasn't trying to intimidate. I was just standing there with my bullhorn, saying what I had to say, and then trying to listen to what they had to say. At no point did I try crossing the road or anything of the such. They are the ones that came across the road. A good handful of them, a good amount of them. So, There's a lie right there, but she is correct on the protest, the pro-choicers getting aggressive and trying to come on the other side of the road. She is correct on that. Only that so far. Let's continue.
Or we stepped in the middle and made sure nobody could argue with each other. So, therefore, that became the priority.
And that happened throughout that whole time?
Quite a few times, yes.
Nope, incorrect. One time. It happened one time. They came over. They actually made it to the other side of the road. Then they tried stepping in. And then, once her little squad told the protesters to go to the other side, even the organizer herself came over and said, nope, go back to the other side. You're not going to ruin this cause, blah, blah, blah. So the organizer actually tried keeping it peaceful when the organizer's people were trying to get it violent. So I do have to say kudos to the organizer. I may not agree with her at all, but kudos to her for trying to keep the peace. But that only happened one time. Once the organizer and a couple of the cops said, go back to the other side, we're not going to get violent or nothing, whatever, they went back to the other side, and it did not happen again. Only happened one time. So there's a lie right there, Pam Davis. Let's continue.
Okay, so it wasn't the entire time. These signs were clearly visible. There was it's a complaint-driven ordinance.
Yeah, and as I said, when you have a large crowd that even outnumber the officers, at some point in time, you do have to make sure priority becomes the protection of life and the protection of property. Okay. Again, so that's the issue, okay? So okay. I'm going to let you go now.
No,
look at her trying to get away now, because now she's being criticized by the people. Just wait to what excuse. She's going to come up with an excuse called, I got to go to a meeting. I got to go to a meeting. I don't know if that's true or not, but she's still trying to redact from the people so quick. When she's at the top of the chain, she should always be willing to talk to the people and take questions or criticism from the people. Let's continue.
Actually, a second issue I have. There's a second issue I have with Lieutenant.
I appreciate your thing. I'll talk to you in a minute about his misinformation that he provided you. Make sure they all are aware.
I have a second complaint, ma'am.
I'll talk to you later because I actually have to run into a meeting. But I do.
So my second complaint is irrelevant to you. Thank you very much for letting us know that you think your community is irrelevant with their complaints.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were living in the city. Are you in the city?
Do you need my address?
Sure, I'll take your address.
I'm not giving you my address, but there's a citation that was written.
I have got to run. I'm literally late for this meeting.
Well, I need you to call me back then regarding this citation.
Miss Erica, I'm not going to call you back because you're just going to argue, and I'm
there's a citation. There's a trespass.
Wow, look at that. She said, I am not going to call you back. Wow. Fucking wow. When the people are trying to address you, and let's say she really did have a meeting. Don't know if she did, don't know if she didn't. Whatever the case is. Let's say she did. Her as a public servant, especially at the top of the chain, if she has to run to something very important, she should be more than willing to come back to readdress the people for whether it's a complaint, criticism, questions, whatever the case may be. But clearly, she doesn't want to. Is it because that corruption was just exposed and you just admitted to selective enforcement? You fucking bitch. Let's continue.
There's a trespass. There's a trespass on record for someone to not be able to go to your police station.
Okay.
And
are you trespassed?
I am not trespassed. No, I'm not. I'm looking at one, though. I'm looking at a trespass written by Miller and Jimenez. And basically, I had questioned if this person needed safe refuge. Would they be allowed in there or would they be arrested? Because this is more of like a deterrent. And if something happens to this person, I would love to notify their next of kin. So I need to know what can be done about this.
Anybody that's running or in God forbid, dire straits, their lives are in danger, absolutely can run into the police department and get help. I think if I were that person, the last thing I'd be scared of is being arrested for trespassing when I can show that my life is in danger. So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, good, because I have that recorded. So if
Here's my thing about that. What was just said by this bitch, right? Is, yeah, she said it. Yeah, it's recorded. But they can lie. Now, if it's in writing, that's a completely different story. So that, God forbid, if that ever happened, that's just using it as an example. But God forbid if somebody, let's not even use my case as an example, because that's what the Second Amendment's for. If someone's chasing me with a knife, that's what the Second Amendment's for. You would stand your ground, especially that this is a stand your ground state. If someone's chasing me with a knife, I'm not going to run to the police. No, I'm going to use the Second Amendment to defend my life from death. But let's use somebody else's example. Let's say somebody did not have their Second Amendment. Let's say someone didn't have their gun because let's say they were a felon or whatever, which to me is bullshit, but that's completely irrelevant at this point. Let's just use this as an example. Someone didn't have a gun because they couldn't afford it or whatever the case may be, right? And they're trespassed from the Punta Gorda Police Department. They could say all day, yeah, you won't get arrested, blah, blah, blah. And they run in there, they could still get arrested because they're trespassed. And when they say, oh, well, you told me over the phone I could. Oh, I lied to you. Because the cops can lie to you. But if you lie to the cops, you're getting arrested for it. But now if it's in writing, and it's signed, that's completely different. That is completely different if there's under terms and conditions. Like if they write under certain circumstances, your life's in jeopardy because some crazy bozo is chasing you with a knife or whatever weapon and you run into the police station for safety, then you won't get arrested. If that's under exceptions and they write it and sign it, that's completely different. Because all day they could try to say, oh, I lied to you, or I never said that. And that's if this person didn't record the phone call that they had for an exception if it wasn't written on paper. Everything for exceptions or anything like that should always be written on paper. And of course, this bitch didn't offer at all to have that term or certain circumstance written on paper. Because paper trails are very fucking important. Always very important to have. Let's finish this.
If that ever does happen,
that's great. And 100%, as long as that's what's happening, there will be no issues. If the person's lying or making something up and using that as an excuse and it's a lie.
oh no, that would not be that would be uncalled for. Oh, and by the way, open carry is legal when you're fishing. You should let Lipker know.
I will. Thank you.
Oh, but he does know because he said it on his body cam. So, by the way, you looked like a real jackass that day. It was awesome.
Have a great day.
All right. You can fuck off, too. All right. Fuck off. Have a good day.